Hello, everyone. I'm Sheree, founder and editor-in-chief of Curls in the Hood. And today we are with Dr. Vanessa Mejia, who will be speaking with us on her article, Beauty, Media, and Self-Worth. Dr. Mejia is an experienced educator in behavioral health sciences, specializing in youth, maternal and child health, sexual and reproductive health, evidence-based programming, and organizational management and development. Woo woo, Dr. Mejia, we are so excited to have you. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else I need to add before I pull out the journalism glasses?
Yeah, so I'm also a travel curator, and so
Yeah.
I design travel for folks, luxurious travel experiences for families, individuals, and groups.
You know, we love a multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate sister over here in the Curls in the Hood community. Okay, so I know you are a little nervous because I don't give anybody their questions in advance of the call. But you're all right. You wrote the article. Listen, I always say, as long as you actually wrote the article, you'll be fine. Journalism classes are coming on. All right. Okay, so let me just move some stuff around so that it's not telling all my business in the background in my glasses. All right, so I'll give you the rundown of how we're going to do this today. We're going to start off with some cultural standards talk, media influence, psychological impact, self-image and aging, media literacy, body positivity, marketing and mental health, intersectionality, coping mechanisms, and then empowerment and aging. So those are kind of the brackets in which I design the questions. And jumping into pregunta número uno.
Okay.
How do societal perceptions of beauty, particularly in media, impact the self-worth of women who are aging out of what's traditionally considered marketable age?
Yeah, so I would say that's a really good question. So I would say that the media has helped, the media has always played a major role in shaping societal standards of beauty. And throughout history, the media has really depicted more or less a narrow and unrealistic definition of beauty. So often that it's promoting a certain body type, skin color, facial features, and these actually create a sense of pressure for women as they age, right? So for us, when it comes to once we leave our 20s, it's
Girl.
like you have to start, with the creams and the collagen, and you have to make sure that you're getting all of your estrogen in because you're going to start losing elasticity in your skin. And so all of these, so you would usually see women applying cream on commercials, or you
Mhm.
would start, or even if like nowadays, we have cookies that we have to like fill like within our search, right? Whenever we do a search.
Right.
So they pick up our age, they pick up our skin color. So anything that we fill out online, those cookies is what stays within the cache of our history. So what happens is that we will start getting these
Keep
small
getting
little
fed
ads in the
that info.
corner.
Yes.
Our phone picks up our talks.
Well, you know what? I'm picking up the journalism glasses because it's just you know why? Because we normally have these conversations at night, and so I don't get as much pickup in my glasses. But thank you for reminding me that. And also, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but there's a guy that's like his video's going viral right now for telling women like after age 30 you're half off, and he looks
Yes,
like a.
you're on clearance. What is that?
First of all, you look like a hemorrhoid.
Yeah.
You're out here telling people what they are capable of, but the cash part is important because I feel like once we hit a certain age, it's like your ads go from like certain vacation spots, alcohol, whatever the fun things in life, bikinis, and then it's like Dulcolax.
Yeah.
Dire please.
Like
Do you
there
need
was
a
at
weighted
one
blanket?
point when I took I'm still in my early 30s, but I remember when I turned 30, like literally when I turned 30, I started getting stuff like about like IVF and freezing my eggs and all of these things. And I'm like, it's going a little bit off topic with with beauty, but it still falls in within us, within the aging part and what are standards, right? So when it comes to these standards of beauty or standards of, let's say, a woman in general and where they're supposed to be at a certain age in their life or how they're supposed to look, all of these things just like come into play and they totally just mash up for us.
Yeah, I've aged out of the IVF commercials. I remember when I was in my early 30s, I was getting those too. Now they don't want my eggs now. They're like, since you got 5 eggs and a possible left, we watch
You
your,
guys,
we see what you're Googling. Okay. We don't want them. We don't want but I'm going to segue into media influence. So in your professional opinion, how does the media contribute to shaping beauty standards for women, and what role does it play in influencing their perception of self-worth as they age?
yeah, so the answer for this is actually pretty complex, right? Because if we really take a look at it, one, it can comes off as positive and it also can have a negative effect on the psyche. And I actually wrote a couple of positive and negative notes in my article. And with one of the positive notes is that not seeing ourselves in the media can serve as a wake-up call for us to actually be out there and put ourselves out there to ensure that other young people look like us, right? Or that people are just reflective of us. It can make us question and narrow down the definition of beauty, right? Where it's not where the essence of beauty that's being portrayed, although it's not reflective of us, we can make sure now that it's diverse, right? Now we see, for example, in certain lines of makeup, now they have darker shades of makeup. I
Right.
remember when I started using makeup, like there were not a lot of there were not, and still till today, there's still not a lot of options when it comes to makeup, especially for like darker skinned women,
Yeah.
right? So it's like now we have women of color who are coming out with lines of makeup. And so, well, with beauty lines in general, right? Because now it's making it, whether it's moisturizers, whether it's some concealers,
Yeah, it's a
whatever it
standard now.
is. Yes, it's growing, it's growing. And so I would say that that with media, the realization can lead to a sense of empowerment and motivation for us women, being out there. That's a positive effect on the psyche. And when it comes to the negative, so how can we navigate this complex issue in a negative way, and how does it negatively impact us? In a way, when we don't see ourselves, right? It's like, are we beautiful enough to be there?
Yeah, or
Right.
to not even exist, right? Because there's like
Yep.
this visibility thing. I think that happens when you never see yourself anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we don't see ourselves on television, if we don't see ourselves in magazines, I remember when we used to use print magazines a lot.
Hmm.
We rarely saw women of color. And if we did, it was the skinny toothpick who did not resemble curves, right? So it was more so like alongside the Naomi Campbell and the Tyra Banks. And again, like these are women who are women of color, but still on a different level of women of color, right? Because it's still like the paperback test whenever we like look at all of these.
Listen, I'm gonna shake the table a little bit. I remember when the natural hair movement really started to like pick up steam. I'll say 2010, 9, 10, through 2009 to like 12. I think that was really like when it really started to like have a renaissance. And Essence magazine really was not at the forefront of getting the natural girlies in print. Like it was very much still, they was very much still doing their dark and lovely advertisements. Like they were holding the line of what Black beauty looks like. And
Mm-hmm.
Essence is our legacy mag, right? Like Essence is at many times in history the only place we could find ourselves,
Yep,
right? And
absolutely.
so that fashionable and beautiful and professional, and you know what I mean? And so I remember that standing out to me, as a person. I've been natural my whole life, but I also know that I have a looser curl pattern. So like,
Mm-hmm.
my struggle isn't really the 4C girly struggle, but like
Yeah,
it would be nice, right? Like you know what I mean? I
yeah,
was just like, I know that I paid attention to that, and I've never forgotten that they, you know what I mean? Like it was very much like, well, our customer is still getting her hair straightened.
yeah,
So yeah, okay, Brooklyn girlies, y'all are rocking your fros, and Atlanta girlies, y'all are next in line. But they held that line for I'll say the better of like 2 years it took once we were really like in the throes of the natural hair movement for this round of it, because it's not the first time. I was like shocked and appalled, but you know, going back to that point of how,
Yeah.
it left an impact on me, and I was already an adult. I can't imagine what that looked
Yeah. So I
like.
would share my journey then when it comes to hair. So as a kid, I rock curly hair. So my hair touches a 3A4C. So it's a soft curl, but it's also really tight. So it's like a kinky curly.
Mhm.
So when it came to my hair, I actually had, when I was younger, my mom was cool with like doing my hair. It happens to be that I spent a week with an aunt
Mm.
and she texturized my hair because she could not handle it. And it was more like, I'm from Dominican Republic, so there's always a thing with the pelo malo, which is
Yeah.
bad hair for people with kinky curly hair. So she decided that she couldn't basically navigate my hair, and she basically texturized me. By the time I went back to my mom,
I know your mother had a fit.
it was a whole it was a whole fit. So one, not also then not only did that like influence like the texture of my hair, right? Because then once you like do it, you have to like keep it up. So
Yes.
then I kept it up for a very long time, for I would say over a decade, because then when I grew up, I decided that I wanted to like embrace it. Right. But at first it was challenging because it was like, hey, everyone that I see is like always like straight hair. My sisters have straighter hair. And so for me, it was like, well, I'm the only one with like super kinky, like curly hair, whatever. So as soon as the little roots used to come out, it was just like
You
stringy
were
hair
like,
and then the little curl.
you were like, I need a touch up.
I
That
need a
happened to
touch
me.
up.
That happened to me too. I was staying with my grandfather. Every Black American person has this story of going down south for the summer. And so my grandfather's wife, I don't know if it was wife 2 or 3 at the time, but she permed my hair. And then, but like, I was like a pool kid. They had a pool, and I remember I got my hair relaxed, and the next morning, or maybe
Yeah,
this day, I jumped in the pool and my hair turned green.
yeah.
And it was like the corset, like it was strange. It was strange. And I got back by the time I got back to New York, I think we were still living in Brooklyn then, or maybe it was like my first year in Jersey. But my mother had to cut my hair. I had to go get, you know what I mean? Like, and then
Yeah.
after it was like the good thing was like my mom didn't keep it up because my maternal grandmother was like absolutely not. Like I grew up with my grandmother having an afro my whole life, so there was no, like no
Mm-hmm.
pressure to straighten my hair outside of a press and curl. Even though I have a looser curl pattern than my mom and my grandmother, like they weren't like, oh, okay, no, they didn't subscribe to it at all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move it further into psychological impact. So then, can you shed light on the psychological effects of societal expectations and media representations of beauty on women who may feel they are aging out of the conventional marketability range?
Yeah, sure. So I would start off with the impact that it has on an individual psyche. So when we don't see so the media plays a significant role in shaping our perceptions and in shaping our perceptions of beauty, success, and happiness. When we are no longer exposed to those ideas, we may question our own definitions of what these concepts are, right? And so what happens now is that once we once we once we look at ourselves and we say, for example, in the past, the media, for example, heavily portrayed, it influenced mostly gender roles and societal expectations, right? And
Mhm.
so when women are expected to have that small little waist, the curvy hips,
Mhm.
the flawless skin, while men were expected, for example, to be tall, muscular, strong, um, all of these led to these comparisons. So now we're comparing ourselves to other people,
Yes.
right? To other people that don't really reflect us, but because this is what we see, this is what we want, this is how we want to look. Right. So we want to have that straight hair. We want to have that small waist. We want to have that really defined jawline. We want to ensure that our nose is like a little bit more, refined, and that our skin is like completely flawless. So what that does is it looks at our self-worth. So now we're putting our self-worth on the looks of other people, right? And so if we're looking at ourselves and other people, then our self-worth is going to be like, okay, I really don't look like them. What am I going to do? And am I going to starve? Am I going to, how can I purchase whatever it is that they're like currently
Right.
like
Am I gonna
wearing
lay
or
on the
currently
table?
have?
Mhm.
Yes. So all of these things. And then now the media is like perpetuating the idea that beauty is or was like I would say is, because it still is the most important aspect of a person, overshadowing our intelligence, overshadowing our personality and all of these other qualities, because we are comparing ourselves to other people. So it does mess up with our psyche in a lot of ways.
Okay. How important is media literacy in helping women navigate and critically assess societal beauty standards as they age? And how can this influence their self-perception? Because I think, and I'll expand on this, media literacy is important because a lot of people don't know when they're being duped. A lot of people don't know what they're looking at or how they're being groomed to believe
Mhm.
a certain thing about themselves or society. And so, how important do you think it is to even understand media literacy or understand what you're looking at and what its purpose is, and to be able to separate yourself from it if it's not aligning with how you self-identify per se?
Yeah. So media literacy is really important, right? And so literacy, general definition, is being able to understand what's being put in front of you, right? So it's important for individuals to recognize that the media's definition of beauty is not the only standard to strive for, right? True beauty lies within one unique quality, and we must always understand that and the characteristics. And it's essential for us to really focus on self-acceptance, and self-love, rather than confronting these societal ideologies. The media may have a strong influence on shaping our perceptions of beauty, but it is only up to us to define our self-worth. That's one. And also break away from these narrow standards. I think that today in society, the media plays a significant as the media plays that significant perception of what beauty is. We are constantly bombarded with these images,
Yeah.
right? So when we're constantly bombarded with these images, the media's portrayal of beauty is often, as we see now, airbrushed and edited, and it's creating a sense of unattainable, false
Yeah.
and unattainable standard of perfection, right? So how do we, like, we can say, for example, a lot of like the AI,
Oh gosh.
now I could just literally take a selfie or just upload a couple like pictures, and I would get like a whole business portfolio. I would get myself traveling somewhere with actually being there. Like, you can get like a whole bunch. So this is creating false and unattainable standards of what beauty is, or of perfection or whatnot. So this not only perpetuates unrealistic beauty ideals, but it also promotes that the idea of one's worth is solely um based on their physical appearance, right? And that's something that as a result, many of the individuals, especially people like my nieces,
Mhm.
right? So we look at young women and girls who struggle with their body issues, their body image and low self-esteem, because they're constantly comparing themselves to these features. And I remember when the Little Mermaid was being advertised, I cried when my niece was like, she looks just like me. I'm going to go watch The Little Mermaid. And she's just looking, and I'm like, oh my God, Melanie. At the time, she was 8. And it really like broke me. And it just like made me think like, oh my God, like we really, as
Yeah.
far as we've come in the media, we are still underrepresented as women of color.
I feel like we took a step back when we think about you know, I'm older than you, but like when I was 8, I'll say from 8 to 17, like there was always someone for me to look up to as a little girl, even as a Black little girl, like the Moesha era, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just Moesha, it was like the Parenthood with Reagan Gomez Preston, and like the Black girls were in abundance, like, oh, they were on
We had
Nickelodeon,
Sister
we had,
Sister.
right, we had all
Um,
that, we had Sister Sister, we had, and I think now there's just such a gap. Like there's adulthood, like there's the things, there's Gracie's Corner, and then there's like whatever the adults are doing. And then
yes.
that space in between is really challenging. I'll say for the girls and the boys, because they are looking to adults for like I don't know who the teen influences are. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
also am child free, so like I'm not paying attention, but I can tell just even you said like how my nieces dress and things like that, and like some of the fashion and stuff they're into, like girl, you
Yeah, they be looking at, listen, okay, they be doing all of this. Like my sister got
like you're
my
using The Ordinary, you know who the glow recipe is, girl. When I was your age, like, and then I'm like the old lady punching at the sky, right? Because you know they don't need it. I'm gonna go over tangent on a tangent really quick, or off topic, not really off topic, but off the scroll. What happens when you're chasing a beauty ideal that doesn't necessarily represent who you are? And I'll say a mismatch because this has come up a few times with my guy friends where they're like, they met a girl with a BBL that got a BBL or some, you know, got her body done. And now she's reckoning with the type of attention that comes with a body. I'm not going to say designed for sex work, but like, you know, the initial girls in the BBL, you know, it was our trans
Mm-hmm.
sisters, the women that worked in strip club, like that's where that aesthetic, it's almost a characterization. I can't, I'm glitching. Um, but you know what I mean? It's like this exaggerated form of Black women's bodies historically. Now there are Black women who are really shaped like that, right? Like the inspiration source came from somewhere. But what happens when psychologically when people are chasing a beauty standard that is not necessarily them? Because there are certain ideals that are assigned to certain things, the way certain things look, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the girls, and that's me, like as somebody with like a big butt that was hypersexualized at a really young age because, you know, why do I have a body like that if it's not for XYZ, right? And so the impacts of girls who are like filling the lips, getting the cheeks done, doing wearing the wigs, doing the things, losing the weight, and now their external appearance matches this avatar that society has created for this type, and now you're struggling with that. Like, do you encounter that as a mental health professional or like with anybody that you work with? I don't know why Zoom did
It happens.
that.
It happens. Yeah, so this is for over a decade. So I would say since I was like about 19, to like the present time, I have seen this throughout my work and in the mental health space, behavioral health space, um and just like working with people in general. Um, this ties a lot to insecurities within, right? So, at first, as you had stated, it was designed for a certain character, personality, workspace individuals were getting these body enhancements, right? Now it became more of like a fashion trend, almost like a fashion trend. Or I would say actually like a fashion trend, like a physical, literally a physical fashion trend. And so, I would say that with the airbrushing of individuals and everything that we had just like recently spoken about, the emphasis that's on physical appearance also emphasizes the stereotype, I would say the harmful stereotypes that promotes the idea that beauty is synonymous with BBLs or with these body enhancements. Because now, in order for example, for me, let's say if I did not feel beautiful within my own skin and I'm seeing that the people who I'm attracted to who are men, right, are going after this standard, then this is the standard of beauty that I'm going by, right? So if I'm a person who let's say, is not able to get somebody's number, or nobody's asking for my number, or it's hard for me to like date or stay with someone, this is what I'm looking up to. And I'm like, you know what? I think I have to like invest in this, because these are the only type of women that are truly getting attention from men. This is what the men are saying. And it's out there in the media, right? So it's being fetishized in the media that these are the type of women that men want, right? Or that people
Succeeding at
want.
dating and acquiring
Yes.
the things,
But
right?
then at the end of the day, like you hear like from others and you're like, nah, like we say this, but that's not true. Like we really adore regular women. Like, okay, so why are you putting this out in the media? Because then now it's like a contradiction. And now, because we look in general, we look at the media for lots of things, right? For beauty inspo, for fashion inspo. We go there for mental health purposes, for just health purposes. I mean, now we have telehealth, right? Where we can literally talk to a doctor, like literally online, right? So we go to the internet for all of these things. So if we're seeing that BBLs are there, and that's what it is. If I'm a person who has lower self-esteem, who does not feel worthy enough, but I see that this is what's causing what I want that attention, then I'm going to go that way.
Listen, and it's like, it's such a tangled web, right? Because then at some point we've lost the plot, right? And so it's like we can never get out of this, like, okay, well, you got a BBL for not for the male gaze, but to feel better, but really you don't feel well because you're not getting the attention from what I mean? Never get off the wheel.
Yep, never.
Chasing whatever
It's a
the
never
next,
ending cycle.
because
Yeah.
now we're in the Kate Moss waif era again, right? Like that, like cocaine chic is coming back of the Ozempic, everybody is looking
Yep.
like
Everybody want their clavicle sticking out. Like you want that
right.
defined jawline.
And now you've tossed
All
away
the way
this
out.
BBL aesthetic because, like I said, I know the inspiration is like the curviness of Black and brown women's bodies, but the BBL aesthetic is not a Black woman's body. So it's like the
Right.
girls purchase this version of womanhood. If you want to keep up with it, or if now the folks you desire or the attention you want are on the Ozempic wave, like it's harmful and it's expensive.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. It's that harmful stereotype that I was talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move into intersectionality.
Mm-hmm.
Are there unique challenges faced by women of different ethnicities, backgrounds, or abilities when it comes to aging and societal perceptions of beauty? And how can these be addressed from a psychological standpoint?
Absolutely. Yeah, this one is good. So I'm going to define intersectionality first so that way folks can understand what that is. So intersectionality refers to the interconnectiveness of social categorization. Categorization.
Yeah, that the cats are
Oh
killing us
no,
today. We can't
I'm
get the
so
cats out.
fancy.
I could
So it looks at the social categorization of race, gender, class, sexuality, and how these overlapping and interdependent systems of discrimination and disadvantage come together. That's what it really is. So it's looking at the different parts of ourselves and how they cross with each other in the different systems. So when it comes to the beauty industry and the media, I would say that intersectionality plays a crucial role here. And the reason why is because it shapes our perceptions of beauty. The media has long been criticized for promoting a narrow and unrealistic standard of beauty. And that's and that particular standard has been dominantly white.
mm-hmm.
Right? When it comes to the models, when it comes to commercialization, I was going to say marketing, but commercialization and marketing are intertwined. So when we look at all of these like advertisement and things like that, and even till today, even though there's still some diversification, it's still predominantly white. And so what happens here is that we're still looking at the white, thin, able-bodied, and cisgender people, right? So that's part of discrimination.
Yeah.
Then we're then this particularly, from like its history till today, this has led to a lack of representation and inclusion of individuals that look like you and I, that looks like our peers. And so so that looks like diverse backgrounds, and we're looking at the perpetuation of the harmful stereotypes that are out there. It's also looking at the damages of self-esteem and those that do not fit within that narrow definition of beauty. So the impact that intersectionality has had is that within the media, it goes beyond the representation now, because it also influences the type of products and the services that are being marketed to the different groups of people. For example, the beauty industry, for the most part, I would say often, they tend to care for the needs of like white women. Pantene back in the day,
Oh, yes.
it would be like, for your straight hair, man, I cannot use Pantene on kinky curly hair. Like, what are you doing? Like, so it would be like that white woman, and if it happened to be diversified, it would
And they
be
made
like
the bottle brown so that you knew it was for the Negroes. It would be like, oh, here's the regular products, but your product is
your product is right over
is
there.
in the elephant graveyard in the back. Thank you. And then
Yes,
you'll know it because it's brown. Everybody else's bottle is blue, gray, pink, yellow. But your
absolutely.
bottle, your stuff is bronze. Okay.
So yes, exactly. So what happens is that while it caters to the needs, while it catered for most often to the needs of white women, it neglected the beauty needs of people of color, for women of color, and reinforcing the belief that the white features were basically like the epitome of beauty, right? And no, that is not. Black is beautiful. I mean,
Hello?
I don't even look my age. We don't even look our age, right? So that's just like amazing. So so it reinforces that, being white or being white dominant is the epitome of beauty. And so this only excludes people of color from the beauty market, right? As it perpetuates the harmful notion that we are not beautiful and desirable, which makes us go back to the why am I getting, why people are getting BBLs, why are people getting facelift, why are people getting Botox injections, why are people getting lip fillers and all of these other things, right? But then we have white folks now who are getting lip fillers, right? So before it was like we used to have big lips and big noses and high cheeks. Now y'all won't be looking like
Now
us.
everybody has them. Oh. And even the Black girls are getting filler because
and even us, yes, absolutely.
at one point I was on TikTok and I'm like, how does everybody have the same lip shape? Like, it took me like 6 months to realize, like, oh, we're getting these procedures too. Like,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah.
see. Because everybody has that same like overline pout that like
In the middle, like right there in the
that like does that thing.
Yep.
And so, and so I was like, oh, okay, the more you know. Okay. So then in your experience, what coping mechanisms or psychological strategies have women found effective in maintaining a healthy self-worth as they age and face all of these like shifts in societal expectations?
So, from a personal experience, one of the things is setting personal affirmations. I think that with it's hard because when it comes to loving ourselves, there's so much, like intersectionality still plays a role into like loving ourselves, right? And how the media portrays us. So loving ourselves is the main thing. So what does that look like? Doing things that are for you, not things that because the media is out there saying that these are the things that we should do. If you know that you like to wake up in the morning, sit on your terrace, and you like to drink your coffee or your green tea, or even a glass of wine, doesn't matter the time of the day, you go ahead and you do that. Don't go ahead and stop doing these things, right? So do the things that you constantly love to do. Additionally, when it comes to coping, I think that one of the things that is important is looking at the financial means of everything, because a lot of the times when it comes to the affordability of beauty in general, when it comes to coping strategies, right? So if I cannot afford to go to a yoga class, guess what? I have YouTube on my TV, right? So I can lay out my yoga mat in my living room and I can do yoga, right? So I don't necessarily need to pay for a lot of the things, I have to do things that are within my financial means in order for me to live and feel beautiful, right? Surround yourself with individuals who are going to uplift you and who are always going to speak positive. I think that you are your company, right? So if you are surrounding yourself with individuals who love themselves, who speak positivity into you, who love themselves in general, you are going to pick up on those habits, because we are creatures of habit. We are creatures of our surroundings. So making sure that we are surrounding ourselves with other people, and also go to a therapist. If you have health insurance, go to a therapist. That is a way to cope with everything that is around us, whether it's beauty or other things that are surrounding us in general, because life be life in.
It does.
And you know, it's not just little cucumbers on your eyeballs like I like.
Yes, Dr. Mejia's favorite things in the March issue is a cucumber.
Yes. So just not the cucumbers and little gel patches, you know, or the perfume scents. Like it takes a lot, right? And so we as adults, or people in general, we need a village. We always need a village.
Always.
Doesn't matter what age you are. And as we continue to grow into our years, that's when we need a village the most, because that's when, you know, a lot of times insecurity pops in. You can be the most secure, you can be the most confident person in the world, but there's always just one thing. It may be your pinky toe, your pinky nail, you know, it can be a finger, it can be your left eyeball. Like, it's just something, right, that you feel insecure about. And if someone points that out, that totally sheds, you know, you feel shredded like a paper going into a shredder. So yeah, surround yourself with positive people and go to therapy if needed.
Yes, and I'll add too, I think, because you kind of answered like both questions at the question coming up, so I'll just kind of like add to it. I think that when we talk about how the media how the media kind of tries to put you in your place as we age, I think, because see so much messaging now that I'm closer to 40 of like, I'm too old for this, I'm too old for that. And I'm like, I'm never going to be too old for fun. I'm never going to be too old
Mm-hmm.
want to go out and dance one night. Like, am I going to do it at the same rate of speed that I did when I was 27? No. But, right, like, why are we putting an age on people having a good time? Why is there
Yeah.
an age limit on folks wanting hobbies or trying out new things or taking an adult ballet class? Because I think all of that ties into your self-worth, right? Like, it plays a part in
Mm-hmm.
the beauty piece, because live in a society where health is skinny. Healthiness is equal to skinniness. Like, you know, that nobody cares that you could do a half marathon or run a 5K if you are a medium to plus size person, right? There's always an assumption that you're like battling your cholesterol or something like that.
And I could be 200 pounds and be completely healthy,
Right. But like,
and not look like I'm the obese looking 200 pounds that they put, right? Because it can be that I had really thick legs and
right,
I have a really robust booty. Like, I can be very voluptuous and I can be skinny in the mid, like smaller in the mid section, right? And still be 200 pounds,
right.
right? So the weight on the scale and
Yeah.
the physical appearance are two completely different
Right.
things.
Because my thing is like, getting old is a blessing. Aging is a blessing, right? And like, you know, I'm all about maintenance and taking care of myself. I don't really do anything too extreme. I have a skincare routine. I drink water. I mind my business most of the time. And, and so, right. And I find myself like, I'll never forget when I first found my first gray hair. And then I found my second and third, like in the same week. I was like, oh, y'all were just, and up until that point, I was the one somebody that was like, oh, I'm going to age gracefully. When my grays start coming in, I'm just going to let them. And I saw them gray hairs and I freaked out. I made a hair appointment that next day. I was like, and we're dying and we're done. And I had to challenge myself.
I think I showed you my first gray hair like back in October.
Yeah, I was like, I had to really like, I didn't end up dyeing my hair, but I was like, why are you stressed, girl? Why? Because now my ads are changing, right? Now I
Yeah.
don't get the Pat McGrath you know, beauty advertisements. I get the BioFreeze ads. I don't get the, you know, IVF. It's like, okay, your ship has sailed. How do you don't you want to go on a cruise with some other middle-aged people? You know?
I'm crying. Oh my God.
I mean, it does us dirty. It does us dirty. So, okay. So then some lasting advice. What are some words of affirmations for the Curls in the Hood family? Because like I say, aging is a blessing. So getting old, you know, you either get old or you don't, or you're not here on this side of life. So do you have any words of affirmations for folks that struggle with um being firm in who they are as they change and as they see the marketing change towards them?
Yes. And I probably give two. So one is about the trajectory. So I would say that anything and everything, little or big, becomes an adventure within ourselves, right? So it's important for us to embrace as we continue, as we reach the different milestones in our life. So that's a takeaway. And when it comes to words of affirmation, I am beautiful. Okay. And it's something that I know it's like a very cliche thing, but yes, I am beautiful. And I am beautiful the way that I am. Because one of the things is that because of the ever changing media and because of the standards that media has put, we compare ourselves to other individuals. So look in the mirror and always remind yourself that you are beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, that concludes the questions for today's Convos with Curls in the Hood. Dr. Mejia is contributing to our April issue. She is giving us a robust spring horoscope that might have a little spiciness added to it, but you'll have to be subscribed to know what that is. But thank you so much. I will put her social media platforms below, and then do a link to your article so that way that people can find you. If you have any questions for Dr. Mejia, you can always email us at info@curlsinthehood, and I will make sure that she gets any questions you have regarding today's conversation or any previous articles that she's shared with the Curls in the Hood fam, because she's also the purveyor of our manifestation series that we wrapped up this month as well. You got a lot of hits on that for I think January and February. Everyone was like, I want to manifest. I'm like,
I want to oh
manifest. I want to manifest. I was like, what about the other articles? I want to manifest. Y'all not hitting the lottery. That's not what that article was about. but that is it for us today. This will be up this Friday, I think the 14th or 15th.
15.
The 15th at 9 p.m. on YouTube. So